sing it through a few times. I just want to say I'm here in Cincinnati with Pradnya, who with her husband have created this beautiful Ananda church temple in their basement for all the devotees in this area. And they came to our retreat in Connecticut last year, so some of you may recognize Pradnya. She's going to sing with me today.
The words, "Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away." Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide just for once come to me. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou come? Just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day.
Feel the awakened energy of the heart temple rising up to the point between the eyebrows. Keeping your concentration to this doorway to the inner kingdom. Feel as though your awareness is looking out towards infinity from the Agya chakra. As the body inhales, repeat the mantra Hong. And as the body exhales, Saw. Meaning, I am spirit, thou and I are one. Calling out to God for union, bliss, light, love, peace, joy. We'll meditate for 5 minutes.
listen to this week's affirmations for self-healing. Truthfulness. Truthfulness is not caustic statements of unpleasant facts and unflattering opinions. Such statements are usually born of pride, but truthfulness is the effort always to see the divine truth behind appearances. It is the effort to express always that aspect of truth which may prove the most beneficial. Truthfulness, as applied to ourselves, means not to hide behind self-flattering justifications, to look honestly at our real motives for doing anything, and not to flinch before unpleasant realities in ourselves. Truthfulness means seeing things as they really are, and then looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. So we're going to repeat at first in a loud voice, whatever is simply is.
Whatever is, simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth,
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
And now in a more conversational tone, whatever is simply is.
Whatever is simply is.
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
I
I cannot change it for the mere wishing.
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth,
Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth.
knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good.
And now in a whisper, taking it into the subconscious. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. And now in silence, taking it even deeper into the subconscious. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. And now with rising aspiration, bringing it up to the point between the eyebrows. In deep silence. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Prayer. Heavenly Father, I will not fear the truth, for I know the truth comes from Thee. Help me to see behind all appearances Thy smiling, all-compassionate gaze.
Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Week 22, the Inner Kingdom. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it and your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Most people imagine that the inner kingdom, as Jesus described it, lacks the fascination they attribute to sense life, the bright lights, the diverse attractions, the joys and the laughter. Little do they realize what a vast universe exists in their own selves. There are many passages in the Old and New Testaments of the Bible that describe aspects of this inner kingdom. In the book of Genesis, we read, "And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." Genesis 2:8-9. This garden was in no earthly place. It exists even now in the very self of every human being. The legend of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It describes how the first human beings dissipated their spiritual energy, centered in the spine. The spine is the channel through which flows the river of baptism and of spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita tells us the wise speak of an eternal Ashvata tree with its roots above and its branches below. The tree of life spoken of also in Genesis is the spine. Its roots are above and the brain's energy. Its branches are the outward spreading nervous system. When the sap, which is to say the energy, flows downward, the consciousness is drawn into delusion. On the other hand, when the energy is drawn upward in deep meditation, the consciousness is drawn towards its eternal source, God, and is at last united with him. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita therefore urges his chief disciple Arjuna to embrace the yoga science, the path of meditation. The yogi, he says, is greater than the ascetic, greater even than the followers of the passive wisdom, jnana yoga, or of action, karma yoga. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. For those who would find the divine truth, Krishna gives this description of the yogi. Steadfast a lamp burns, sheltered from the wind, steadfastly meditating, solitary. Such is the likeness of the yogi's mind, shut from sense storms and burning bright to heaven. Thus through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh, 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 oh.
We'll start by reading one of Yogananda's beautiful prayer demands from Whispers from Eternity, number 113. I want to feel thee just behind the voice of my prayer. O Father, thou art just behind my vision with which I see thy beauty without. Thou art just behind my listening power with which I hear thy voice in all creation. Thou art just behind my touch with which I feel thy world. In the sweetness of flowers and in the zest of sustaining food lies hidden the essence of thy being, thine eternal sweetness. Thou art just behind the voice of my prayer. Thou art just behind the mind with which I pray. Thou art just behind my glistening feelings. Thou art just behind my thoughts. Thou art just behind my cravings for thee. Thou art just behind my meditations. Thou art just behind the veil of nature's splendors. Thou art just behind the screen of my love. Behind all these mystic screens, reveal thyself as thou art. Well, that's a beautiful reminder of what we're talking about today, the inner kingdom. All the beauty of this world that we enjoy is just a reflection of the beauty of God's truth, light, wisdom, and love. And God gave us this beautiful world for us to enjoy and to work out our karma through the physical body, through the senses. But we want to remember that, again, the true union with God comes from our eternal inward search. When my daughter was little, every morning before school, I would braid her hair. And it was my favorite time of the day because she really enjoyed going to school as an only child. She was very joyful and very chatty in the morning, looking forward to it. And she used to play all these little games with me. And one morning, she came up with this classic Would You Rather game. And she said, Mommy, would you rather go to Candyland or Doggy Town? And I said, well, why don't you tell me what's in Candyland? So she said, well, Candyland is this really beautiful garden, almost like a big park. And there's beautiful trees and flowers and animals and butterflies. And there's a merry-go-round, and you can eat as much candy as you want. And I thought, wow, that sounds pretty great. Now tell me about Doggy Town. And she said, well, Mommy, Doggy Town's just like Candyland, but you can bring your dogs. And so I was like, okay, well, let's go to Doggy Town. We have 3 dogs. At that time, we had 3 dogs. Now we have 4. So this went on for about 2 weeks. And I just thought it was so adorable. And it kept getting more and more like fantastical and paradisical. And then I spoke to her teacher. And it turns out that in her first grade class, they were learning about creation myths. And in particular, they were learning about the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. And then it clicked for me. And I thought, isn't that amazing? In her 6-year-old mind, she took the concept of forbidden fruit and not being allowed to eat the apple and interpreted that as an all-you-could-eat candy experience. because at our house, you could eat as much fruit as you wanted, but the candy was restricted. So, even as adults, this concept of Eden is really enticing to us, isn't it? And we hear people who go on vacation, especially when they go to Hawaii, they come back and they say it's just like Eden. It's like a paradise on earth. And we all have that feeling, and we use that description to describe states of consciousness where we feel really peaceful and at ease. But again, everything in this material world is just a little reflection of the inner world, of God's light and love and peace and all the aspects of God. And, we're attracted to the sun, the warmth and the light of the sun. And the reason for that is because on the deepest level, we know that it's just a reflection of the inner light that's behind closed eyes at the spiritual eye. And when we have an experience of that light is brighter than 100,000 of our earth suns. We also, as people living on the East Coast, have all had the experience of rushing to the beach or the shore after a hurricane or a tropical storm or a nor'easter because we want to feel that power of the surf. We want to hear the thunder of Om in the waves. And that's because that's what we hear in deep meditation, the sound of Om, which is all around us. When we hear a bell tolling, regardless of our religious affiliation, it creates a visceral reaction of emotion because the sound of the bell or a gong is what we hear in deep meditation in the Anahata chakra. So when that energy center opens in meditation, we hear a bell. So when we hear a bell out in the world, it's just a soul remembrance of that truth. And likewise, when we hear a harp, a harp is such an interesting metaphor because in all popular culture, there's an angel with a harp at the gates of heaven. We have a harpist who plays at the hospital, and it just makes us feel peaceful and at ease. And that's the sound we hear in the Manipura chakra when we are in deep meditation. So again, all of these experiences in the outer world are just deep reminders of what's truly inside of ourselves when we're in communion with God. And it's also almost like the astral world, when we're not embodied. That's the reality that we live in, and we can touch that every day. But again, Eden is not a literal place, it's a state of consciousness. And the only way to achieve that or access that state of consciousness is through our astral spine. That's the pathway that leads us through the door of the heart and then up to the door of the spiritual eye, which is actually the door of the inner kingdom. And through our practices, practicing Hong Sa, practicing Kriya Yoga, chanting every day, we're moving Kundalini energy through these energy centers, through the chakras. And every time the energy comes up, we start to basically loosen up those little strings. It's like balls of string and knots, the vrittis, the samskaras, all of the things that obscure that truth of God's light in our life. So that's the gift that we have as disciples of this path, is that Yogananda and Babaji Krishna gave us this incredible technique that allows us to access those states of consciousness. We chanted, "Who is in my temple?" And that's a chant about opening the energy centers. That's a chant about having God's power come through us, and all the doors will open themselves, all the lights will light themselves when we're in communion with God. In today's reading, we talk about the tree planted eastward in the garden, and the eastward position is the spiritual eye. The spiritual eye is in the east of the body, on the forehead, and our nervous system are the tree. That is the tree of life, and the fruits are the 5 senses. And again, God gave us the senses to enjoy the material world, but we just want to make sure that we don't abuse that. You know, we want to stay centered in ourselves. We want to take the middle path, so to speak, with all of the senses. Enjoy the beauty of the world, but remember that everything we do, we should do with God, with the consciousness that it's actually God flowing through our senses that brings us into that union. I'd like to read something that Yogananda wrote about this. He said, "Spine and the brain are the altars of God. That is where the electricity of God flows down into the nervous system, into the world. And the searchlight of your senses are turned outside, outwards. And that is why you love the senses. But when you will reverse the searchlights through Kriya Yoga and become concentrated in the spine, you will behold the Maker. 1,000 million suns do not describe the light of my Father." Isn't that beautiful? So that's how Master describes the inner kingdom, the light of 100 million suns. And as we know, when we're in that place of God communion, we have we feel and experience the 8 aspects of God, which again are light, sound, which we can have in meditation. And then sometimes, you know, it's important not to get hung up on having experiences in meditation, because sometimes the best experience is just calmness, you know, and just going through life in a calm, centered way and having the power and control to respond to everything that comes to us versus react. That's the true power of this path. It's interesting, in our Raja class, or Principles of Self-Realization course, we start out talking about energy and we talk about the yugas. And Satya Yuga is the highest Yuga. And when you're at the very top of Satya Yuga and you read the description, it sounds a lot like Eden. It's a time where we're 100% in communion with God. There's no fear, there's no violence, there's no sadness. We don't even need our bodies anymore, that we are just in the astral body. And it makes me wonder if the concept of Eden was written, well, we know it was written in descending Kali Yuga, but the people who wrote that in the Bible, they had a memory of being in Satya Yuga. And the great news for us is that we are in ascending Dwapara, the age of energy. So we're living in a time where all of our practices are imbued with that consciousness of God, and that our solar system, we have to remember this, is slowly rotating towards the galactic center of the universe. It takes 12,000 years for that to happen. And when we get to the galactic center, that's God consciousness. That's Satya Yuga. So we're on our way, which is really a wonderful thing to think about. It's a nice reminder that even though at times it can feel that things are out of control, there's actually a plan to all of this, God's plan that we're part of. So the definition of a kingdom means a place of independent action or control, self-sovereignty. And we are the rulers of our own kingdom. So it's important to remember that every day, that through meditating daily, we can control our energy. We can decide if we're going to let our energy run down the spine into delusion or ego consciousness, or are we going to use our energy to let it rise up to the Christ center, where again we have access to the inner kingdom. I wanted to tell you a story that Master told about a saint who came from the town that he was born in. And this saint had gained all of the 8 yogic powers, the siddhis. And he was very proud of that. And he was coming to the end of his life, and he felt the desire to pass these on to someone who was worthy. So in deep meditation, he had a vision of a young man standing by the Ganges in Benares. So one of his powers was the ability to bilocate. So he appeared in front of this young man. And the young man opened his eyes and he said, "Sir, please move. You're in my way. You're blocking the sun." And the saint was a little bit incensed and he said, "Don't you know who I am?" And the young man said, "Yes, I know who you are, but I'm in the middle of my devotions and you're blocking the light." So he went back to his prayer. And a little while later, he opened his eyes and he said to the saint, "What can I do for you?" And the saint said, "I would like to give you my powers. I've mastered all the yogic techniques and I have these special siddhis, and as a boon, I've put them into this sacred gem and I'd like to give them to you." And the young man took the gem and he threw it as far out into the middle of the Ganges as he could. He would never find it again. And the saint was in shock. He was just so upset with that. And he said, "Why did you do that?" And the young man said, "None of these powers could give me more than I already have. With my love for God, I'm in union with God." And then the saint fell to his knees and he said, "Thank you." And he realized that he had been in delusion, that he was very close to God, but he had become so attached to these powers that it separated him from God. And the moral of the story is that we really have to be careful with the senses because they do attract desire, attachment, and they keep us locked in. They keep us locked into ego consciousness. So when we do enjoy the beautiful fruits of this world, do it with God, offer it to God. Nayaswami Jaya, who many of us know, Jaya came to Rhode Island to help Om Prakash and Prem Shanti start the work here many, many years ago, about 25 years ago or more now. And he lives part-time in India and part-time in the USA, and he will be one of our Kriya Charyas in September for the Kriya retreat, so you'll all get to meet him. He tells a wonderful story. He was giving a lecture in India, and he talked about the fact that he'd been a devotee and disciple for 50 years on this path. And afterwards, this young man came up to him and said, "Sir, after 50 years of meditation, what are your powers?" And Jaya said he was a little bit surprised by the question, and he was like, "I can't think of any power." And then he said, "Oh, actually, I do have one power." And he said, "My power is to be happy all the time, under all circumstances." And Master said that that is the true mark of success, is that when we can remain happy and content, no matter what's happening in our life, that we can have that. So Jaya was being very humble by saying he didn't have any powers, because Patanjali says that when we master santosha, or contentment, it brings divine joy and bliss. And anyone who knows Jaya can see that on his face, in his presence. When you're around Jaya, there's just a beautiful orb of joy. And I'll tell one last story about Jaya. Jaya is the one who taught me the Hong Saw technique many years ago. And after I became a Kriya Bon, he had a Kriya meditation for us in the old church, in the old yurt. And we were sitting meditating, and there were maybe 5 or 6 of us, and I was sitting next to Jaya, a couple of feet away. And I have to tell you, I still remember the experience because it was such a different experience for me, but his energy was so deep and centered and peaceful. And it was one of the best meditations I had had at that point in my life, because his energy just affected all of us in the room. It was a really beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's why it's so important that we meditate together, why we chant together. Last week we had a beautiful kirtan. Kelly has a meditation at her house on Tuesdays that everyone's welcome to. We do one here on Thursday night. We have second Sunday meditation, but it's really important for us to meditate as a group, because there is an energy, as Jesus said, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am. But also our energy helps each other. We help lift the energy together. So basically that's our way into the inner kingdom, is to meditate together, to love, to pray, to chant, to practice japa. And whether your interpretation of Eden on earth is all-you-can-eat candy buffet or a trip to Hawaii, just remember that the true inner kingdom is in our heart, in our mind, opening up our spiritual eyes so that we can receive God's joy, love, bliss, light, wisdom, power.